But you never... I know. Okay. Alright. Talk to you later. Bye.
Come in.
I'm now asexual.
You mean you don't have a penis?
I mean, I'm done with women in any romantic or sexual way. Having to sit down to take a pee has dramatic effects on the female psyche that won't allow me to understand them.
Troubles with Jessica, then?
Yeah.
I've always loved the depth and clarity with which you express yourself.
What?
I mean, tell me what's wrong. Don't just say, yeah.
I don't know what's wrong. Things haven't been great lately, but I can't quite pinpoint what it is.
Well, you have been going out a couple months, and that all-consuming passion where the girl is all you want always wears off.
Well, yeah, it's not as much of a rush as it used to be, but I still like her. I think I love her.
Love won't solve all your problems.
Thanks.
What I mean is, there's lots of other factors that have to click in order for a relationship to work. I have lots of really good friends I could never live with.
What do friends and living arrangements have to do with anything? That's a completely different situation.
You and Mike are good friends, right?
Yeah, he's one of the most important people in my life.
Could you live with him?
No. He came to visit me once. It almost drove me to murder.
Too much of a good thing?
I don't know. It's just there were certain incompatibilities in our personalities. It didn't matter when we just saw each other around, but when you have to share the same living space and see each other all the time.
It's the same thing with love. It's never enough to carry a relationship.
But no two people are exactly alike. People stay together all the time.
Maybe they just don't conflict in areas that are important to each other. The positives outweigh the negatives. But sometimes a conflict will come up, and unless somebody changes, the relationship becomes a burden.
But aren't you supposed to accept someone for who they are and not expect them to change? Isn't that part of love?
But you can love someone that you simply can't be in a relationship with. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
So, being in love with someone doesn't necessarily mean you should get married.
Just like being good friends doesn't make you great roommates.
So is it safe to assume you don't hold Love Conquers All as an anthem?
That's the movie version of love. Why do you think they always show the couple falling in love and then end with them on the honeymoon?
It's climactic.
Yeah, but you never see movies about married people. There's just nothing interesting anymore.
Well, things have to cool down a little bit, or people would quit their jobs and have sex all the time. Our economy would suffer.
It's not just that. Things don't just cool down. They freeze.
Okay, Mr. I've never been married, but I know everything about everyone who is. Give me your deep insights on the institution of marriage.
It's not just marriage. It's any serious relationship. You stop being you and become us.
I don't see how you can stop being yourself. I mean, you can't be anyone else. No matter how much you change, you are still you.
So you think people can't really change?
No, I think people are changing all the time. But just because you're 6 feet now doesn't mean you weren't you when you were only 3 feet. You know, I think that whole I just wasn't myself thing is a cop-out. It's shirking responsibility.
So then if someone does something wrong, you'll hold it against them for the rest of their lives?
No, people make mistakes all the time. But, I mean, we're all completely ignorant when we're born, but the point is to learn from those mistakes. In a way, I guess nothing's bad if you've learned from it.
But isn't it hard to focus on how a person is now? Your past impressions of them always lead you to assume they're the same.
Well, I know it's almost impossible not to use past impressions with people, but it's important to realize that people are always changing, and, you know, if you judge them by their past, you may find you're wrong.
But aren't you saying that you can never really know someone? That makes forming a relationship seem pointless.
The point isn't to build walls around people because of the way you expect them to behave. It's if you don't allow them room to grow, then they'll just break through those barriers in your friendship, and, you know, you'll be left with just your perceptions of who you thought they were.
But don't you like a person for who they are? If that changes, then you have to decide whether you still like that person. It seems unconditional love's a fairy tale.
You are so cynical. I don't see how you can get out of bed in the morning.
I think Plato said it's better to be a human dissatisfied than a pig satisfied.
So, I'm a pig and you're a person because you can't believe anything?
Answer this. If your mother had a stroke and her personality completely changed, would you still love her?
Of course, she's my mother. If the right things changed, I might even love her more.
But what if it was one of your best friends? You chose them because you like most of their personality traits. What if they are completely reversed?
Then maybe I'd love them without being able to live with them.
Oh, my own argument turned against me. At least I know you listen to my babble. But this is a different situation. We're not talking about a little change here. The person is the exact opposite of who they were. What do you have left to love?
Their soul.
Seems to me the most adamant believers in that are either afraid to die or afraid to admit they don't have some innate power that allows them to pillage and plunder the earth.
You have to admit there are things we can't explain.
Yeah, but why can't people just accept that we can't explain some things? Why do we need our myths? Traditions are a tyranny most wouldn't recognize.
But then, if you accept the fact that there are things we can't explain, then how can you be so sure we don't have a soul?
I can't say people don't. But you ask any person what part of a person or their personality a soul is, and they can never tell you. The point is, it's not even important what a soul is. People just need it to feel important. I was sitting reading a book on the brain and sitting next to a friend of the family. He was a 70-year-old man who worked at Yellowstone Park every winter. Every summer he'd pack up his car and ride across country. Spend his life doing what he wanted. I kind of hesitated to ask him what he thought of souls because he was aging and I knew he really loved his life. He surprised me by saying, "I don't know how anyone can think we're more than chemical reactions." I thought about it for a while and decided that this man had woken up in the most beautiful natural setting in the world. He spent his whole life doing exactly what he wanted. Maybe most people need that afterlife because they're not happy living the lives they have now. They live in boring towns and suburbs and work monotonous jobs. And their lives are pointless enough that they need that extra life, that second chance, the love boat. If more people loved their lives, they wouldn't need that second time. They wouldn't need to watch reruns.
I think most people would say that the soul is what makes each person an individual.
Isn't that the personality? Personality and cognition are all chemical and electrical reactions. You can destroy parts of the brain and wipe out certain personality characteristics.
But there are so many functions we don't understand. Creativity, love. You know, there may be theories, but I've noticed that no one can make a computer that can think for itself.
What about people who are brain dead? They're vegetables. Are you hungry?
Yeah. Let's go eat.
So these brain dead people, they don't create a thing. Are they without souls?
No, they're alive. Can I borrow a jacket?
Yeah. Plants are alive too. We don't think twice about killing them.
That's different.
That's what I mean about people using the idea of a soul to think we're special. You know, if we have a soul, then animals must have a soul, too. Plants, too. Maybe we should start a plants' rights advocacy group.
Maybe God just likes us more. Maybe the whole world really is created for people.
Well, you can tell God that I can do without mosquitoes.
Maybe the Jews really are the chosen people. I bet there's no mosquitoes in the Middle East.
In our society, people believe in souls because Christianity tells them that when they die, they'll go to heaven. But Jesus didn't believe in a soul.
The whole religion is based on a life after death. How could Jesus not have told people they had a soul?
Jesus was a member of the Semitic culture. They didn't have the idea of a soul. That idea came from India with reincarnation, you know. It spread from there to Europe where Christianity picked it up.
But Jesus was the Son of God. He would know regardless of what his culture knew.
My understanding is that Jesus was God. To the Jewish people, there was no dualism, no mind-body split. If you were going to be resurrected, your body had to be the thing raised from the dead. In the New Testament, all over, every time Jesus mentions resurrection, he says bodily resurrection. But that's the reason for the final judgment. You know, when everybody gets raised from the dead, that's when they're going to judge them. The Jewish people believed that as long as your dead body is sitting there, you're still dead.
The prophet saw him after the crucifixion.
Yeah, one said he saw him in Nazareth, another said he saw him in Jerusalem. They couldn't even collaborate their stories.
He could have been in both places.
I'm not one to trust people to tell stories. So the only thing anyone really knows about him, before he was 30, is that he was born in or around Nazareth.
What about his family going to Bethlehem?
Never happened. Bethlehem didn't even have a census anywhere near Jesus' birth. The Romans kept very good records of those things.
Well, none of this means he wasn't a great person.
No. I personally think he was one of the greatest humans who ever lived. But you have to be careful what you believe.
Maybe ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is also slavery. That's probably why no one's ever told you this stuff before. The virgin conception never was mentioned until 200 years after Jesus' death. One of the writers of the Bible was trying to make Jesus match this Messiah that was mentioned in the Old Testament. But he was using a Greek translation of the Hebrew original. It was the translator who made the mistake in saying that the Messiah would be born of a virgin. The original says young woman. So the writer didn't even know that he was making the mistake. You'd think if he was going to lie to match a prophecy, he'd get a good translation.
Do you offend people on purpose, or are you generally an asshole?
Even if reality offends you, it's still reality.
If you'd done your research, you'd know there's no such thing as reality beyond an individual's perception.
Oh, I completely agree. People mostly see what they want to. But if you challenge a person with a different point of view, they get angry or offended, it's because they don't have a good reason to believe what they do. There'd be no reason to get angry if they had a good argument.
And some people believe things on fate. If they're not hurting anyone, I don't see why they can't believe anything they want. And I don't see how you're judging them is going to make anything better.
Yeah, everyone wants to think that they're right. I don't think that my questioning them is judging. The point isn't to convert people. It's to make people think.
You can't escape the fact that you're always relying on thoughts that came before you.
Oh, yeah, but the point is to think about those things. Just because something is widely accepted doesn't mean it's the best thing for a person to believe.
So it's the safety check that's more important rather than the conclusion?
It scares me to think that in World War II, people thought that wiping out an entire race of people was a morally correct thing to do.
Some people fought against that.
That's because they thought for themselves instead of eating what was fed to them.
I don't think that people who are religious don't make up their own morals. The church used to be racist, homophobic, and sexist, but most people, even denominations, don't believe that anymore. Because people said it wasn't right.
But how can you support something that used its power to suppress people?
The church is a social institution. Like anything human, it's fallible. I don't think most people blindly follow. Their religion is a spiritual issue. Connection to something they feel is greater than themselves. But that connection is a personal thing.
Look at this. Look at this. I'm sick of eating what's been fed to me. This cafeteria is run by capitalist swine. I make my own food from now on.
I guess you're right. Most people's religion is based on their understanding of the nature of God. The Bible says that a man without a penis can't get into heaven. I haven't heard anyone telling John Bobbitt that his penis isn't waiting for him in the promised land. Do you think you'll have a penis in heaven?
I think they'd all be hermaphrodites. You know, I'm not so sure I want to go to heaven. I mean, I've always thought if people want to believe in heaven, that's fine. It's a harmless belief. If it keeps people happy, great, but if I had any say in it, I'd rather rest peacefully.
What do you mean? Think of all the stuff you could get done.
But in heaven, everything's supposedly perfect. It sounds extremely boring to me.
I don't consider boring anywhere near perfect.
Think about it, though. All contests would be out because no one could ever win. Not if everyone was perfect. And it'd be pointless to try and do anything because everything would already be done and done perfectly.
So you just kind of sit there and smile in the perfect world.
But you wouldn't even know it was perfect. It's like you couldn't appreciate a sunny day if it never rained.
You would enjoy everything equally.
But then there'd never be anything to get excited about, never a pleasant surprise. You'd, get everything you wanted, and eventually you wouldn't
Mark.
want anything.
Mark,
What?
aren't you going to class?
I'll get there eventually.
Eventually? Mark, think about this. Do you know how much you spend for that time you spend in class? $40 an hour.
I'm speaking with a friend of mine.
Friend. Yeah?
Yeah.
This is money. $40.
Let's see. $40? Friend. $40. Friend. Friend.
Friend Schmend. Do you know how much beer you can buy for $40? You could get through K-State.
Whatever.
Yeah? Well, Professor Block is gonna be pissed.
Thanks, man.
Where were we? Heaven.
Yeah, it's just... This whole perfect business doesn't really turn my crank at all, I don't know.
It does seem like a dubious reward.
Sometimes it just seems there's nothing left to believe in.
You've always got yourself.
Believing I exist doesn't give me much to live for.
But if you really believe in yourself, you've got the whole world. And you're definitely part of the world. And all of its man-made things, machines, beliefs, systems, all created by people. As a person, you are then equal to the creators of all these.
But sometimes you're just going to feel hopeless, mired in despair.
Pain has to exist. It's like you said with heaven. You can't appreciate the good without the bad.
seems like we could get together and end so much suffering.
We could. But we couldn't end it all. I'll be the first to admit that if everyone thought like I do, things wouldn't work out either. I think you're just supposed to change what you can and accept that you can't change the entire world.
So we should just bring about as much good as we can and accept that there'll always be some suffering?
Seems unfair. But, yeah, someone will always have to suffer. A wise man once said that suffering exists when we refuse to accept pain. When we say this sucks, but it's necessary, we can be content with the knowledge that things are as they're supposed to be.
So, you'll never be miserable if you can accept that sometimes you'll be depressed. Life has its ups and downs, but if you fall on hard times and keep a good disposition with the knowledge that it's part of life, just the same as the joy.
Exactly. It's not what happens to you, but how you react.
Man, you really hit a tangent. It's almost a secant. I didn't even eat my lunch.
Oh man, I gotta get to class.
Class? I thought you were my friend.
Do you have 40 bucks?
40 bucks. Your profs aren't worth 10.
Yeah, but Professor Block, he's cool. He's from Sweden. Really? He used to hang out with that Ingmar person.
Bergman.
Yeah, you should really check out Strange Brew.
All right, so what are you gonna do about Jessica?
I don't know. Should I just accept that there'll be bad times and try and tough it out, or should I call it quits and move on? I wish we could start Tabula Rasa.
Tabla who?
It's Latin for blank slate. It's like starting over without your prejudices and past experiences
Hey guys!
influencing.
Mark's gonna be late for class.
Yeah, I'll be there in a minute. All right.
So, just so you can see how a person is now.
All right. Hey, maybe we could do that with society, just get rid of it all and start over. Keep stuff we want and get rid of stuff we don't. Instead of taking years, we'd do it overnight.
Yeah. I don't think people can handle that, though.
But, what if this life is the only one we've got? It's great that we don't have slavery, but do you think someone who's been a slave their entire life really cares? We should take care of it now so that no one's life is any more difficult than it has to be.
But hey, let's talk about radical social revolution some other time. Talk about what I've got to do now. Okay.
All right. You should definitely go talk to her. Then you can probably decide if it's something you can work out. Maybe she's feeling the same as you, or at least could understand.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hastily throw away a good relationship. Don't come around too often.
It's true. I can't decide if we're better off together or apart. I'm sure we'll be good friends no matter what, but I just can't figure out which way to go.
I think the big question here is, are you a better person for being in the relationship?
What do you mean?
Is the relationship giving you room to grow and be the person you want to be? In a bad relationship, someone always loses their individuality. The goals of the one person become the goals of both of them.
I don't think that's necessarily bad. I mean, in any relationship, you're gonna compromise some independence for stability and love. It's a matter of weighing the positives and negatives.
Yeah, you just got to make sure that you both have room to grow and change.
Yes. Just gotta figure out if we're both better people for sticking together.
It's not that easy a question. All right, I've really got to haul ass. I'll have to catch up with you later.
Okay, yeah, see ya. Thanks a lot.
Hey,
Hey, Jess.
are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Good.
Well, you're familiar with Nietzsche from his famous saying, God is dead. What you don't know exactly is what he meant when he said that. Mr. Mackenzie, you're late. So what is your excuse this time?
I was talking to a friend, trying to help him through some problems.
Ah. Well, you're excused then. Friendship and communication are more important than anything I can teach you in this classroom.
I agree.
Coming. Hey, Kevin, what's up?
Not much, John. I need some advice.
What's going on?
I'm thinking about breaking up with Becky.
No, you're not.
What?
Come on. Think about it. You're a happier person when you're with her. You're a better person when you're with her. And you may never be able to get anyone that good looking to go out with you ever again. Trust me, I've been through this.
Oh my God. You're right. You're right. What was I thinking? You're a smart guy. God, thanks for the advice.
Hey, man, anytime.
Yeah, I'll talk to you later.
Take it easy.
Yeah.
Good luck.